I'm here with Lynne Kiesling, who is the director of the Institute for Regulatory Law and Economics at Northwestern University, and was able to hear your paper today on this law panel, law and philosophy panel. And I'm wondering how your work, if you could tell us a little bit about it, intersects with what we're working on here in this kind of business morals kind of space. So I'd love to hear you talk about that a little bit.
It's been a really great day, and I'm learning a lot. It's fun to talk to lawyers and philosophers about some of these foundational conceptual issues as an economist, because the area I work in is very applied to technology regulation, in my case electricity, public utility regulation. And the paper that we wrote was about adaptive regulation and how can we change regulation so that it reflects more epistemic humility. And so getting the kind of interdisciplinary cross-pollination of the law and philosophy into economics, helps me do a better job both in my own research but also in the program that I direct. We do a workshop for public utility regulators where we work on foundational concepts in economics and technology to give them better regulatory capacity. And so thinking more about the epistemic stance of the regulator and what it is they actually can and cannot expect out of the cognitive reality of humans as regulators and humans as consumers and producers. It helps them think more deeply about what they're doing.
And for those that aren't steeped in the philosophy, so by epistemic we mean knowledge, right?
Knowledge,
that regulators don't know everything and they're not all knowing. Humility means kind of recognizing that. And by adaptive regulation, I imagine you mean systems like you make a law, but the law changes based on facts, like as they come in. Is that right? Like,
exactly.
Are we talking about like algorithmic? Is algorithmic legislation part of this?
Haven't thought about algorithmic legislation yet, but that may be on the horizon.
Or like, I don't know, I wrote this paper a while ago that we could have, speed limits that change based on the weather or something like that, some kind of facts about reality. Or is it more like when people use more electricity, the rates go up, or kind of like Uber, like demand pricing? Are these concepts that are related to what you do?
We do have, there are new technologies that are for the transmission grid that are essentially the equivalent of speed limits that change as the weather changes. So I think that's a relevant concept. And part of the challenge is not just changing regulation when facts change, but also the fact that technology is very dynamic. And as technology changes, that changes the entire landscape. And so I would argue that regulation and technology are very co-determined. And so when technology changes, regulation can become maladaptive because it was predicated on a pre-existing set of technology, and now we've got all these other technologies, and regulation may not be well suited to the new portfolio.
Sure, like maybe automotive safety regulations that were passed in the 1980s don't really make sense when we have a lot of like electric cars with adaptive cruise control or some other feature, or the length of the size of highways, or there's all kinds of features like that the world has changed, the technology's changed. We pave roads differently, we operate vehicles differently. The regulations are static because they tend to be pretty sticky.
Exactly.
Do you find it easy or hard to convince regulators that they have epistemic limits and they should be more humble?
I think it's on a kind of person-to-person basis. It's pretty easy to persuade them that they know what they don't know, but they also know that they don't know what they don't know, if that makes any sense.
This is kind of the negative of Donald Rumsfeld here, right? The unknown.
But they are working within an environment where institutionally they still have this black letter law that they have a commitment to uphold. And so they have to act as if they probably know more than they do know in a lot of circumstances. And so I think it's, and of course as a non-lawyer, I only see part of what their background and their expertise makes them comfortable to do. So I think it's definitely going to be an ongoing process.
Well, I think it's fascinating, and I'm
Yeah.
really glad we got economists, lawyers, philosophers, different people in the room. So thank you for
Yeah,
coming
me
to
too.
our conference. It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure.